Welcome back to the channel. Today we're exploring one of the most fascinating and widely discussed subjects in history: historical research on Jesus of Nazareth. For centuries, scholars, historians, and theologians have sought to uncover the truth about Jesus, not just as a religious figure, but as a historical person. In this episode, we'll look at the ongoing efforts to separate fact from myth, examine the sources available, and explore what modern historical research reveals about the life and times of Jesus. Let's dive into the historical quest to understand one of the most influential figures in history. The quest for the historical Jesus. The quest to discover the historical Jesus is an effort to distinguish the man who lived in first-century Judea from the theological figure described in Christian texts. Scholars rely on historical methods and critical analysis to study Jesus' life, focusing on the cultural, political, and social context of the time. By examining historical documents, including the Gospels, Roman records, and Jewish writings, historians try to understand who Jesus was, what he taught, and how he influenced the world around him. One of the key challenges is that most of the writings about Jesus were penned decades after his death. The Gospels, the primary sources for information about Jesus, were written between 40 and 70 years after the events they describe. This gap between the events and their documentation leaves room for embellishments or theological interpretations, making it difficult to separate historical fact from religious belief. Sources outside of the Bible. In addition to the Gospels, there are a few non-biblical sources that mention Jesus. The Jewish historian Josephus, writing in the late 1st century, briefly references Jesus and his execution under Pontius Pilate. The Roman historian Tacitus also confirms that Jesus was crucified during the reign of Emperor Tiberius. While these references are brief, they help to corroborate key elements of Jesus' existence, including his death by crucifixion. Despite the scarcity of direct historical records, these external accounts provide a framework for understanding Jesus as a historical figure. They suggest that Jesus was known beyond his immediate followers, and that his crucifixion was significant enough to be recorded by Roman and Jewish historians. Theories and historical interpretations. The historical study of Jesus has produced a variety of interpretations about his life and mission. Some scholars focus on Jesus as a Jewish prophet, emphasizing his role as a reformer within Judaism. Others see him as a social revolutionary who challenged the Roman and Jewish authorities of his time. Historical research also delves into the miracles attributed to Jesus, exploring whether these accounts can be understood as symbolic or influenced by the oral traditions of the time. Scholars also examine the political context of 1st century Judea, a period of Roman occupation and religious tension. This context helps to explain why Jesus' teachings about the kingdom of God and his criticism of religious leaders might have been seen as revolutionary, ultimately leading to his execution. Historical research on Jesus continues to shed light on the life of one of the most significant figures in human history. While much of what we know comes from religious texts, historians use critical analysis to piece together a more nuanced understanding of Jesus as a man who lived in a complex political and social environment. If you found this exploration into the historical Jesus insightful, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on future content. Let us know in the comments what you think about the historical Jesus and if there are other historical figures you'd like us to cover. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.